There are three basic freedoms that we collectively have to defend in order to preserve our individual liberties. Those three things are free market, the marketplace of ideas, and human intelligence. So let me explain each one. Free market is quite simple. People are able to buy and sell things to one another. That's it. People are able to trade without any constraints without any constraints. That's it. But it serves us to get into the specifics. For instance, tariffs. If tariffs are present, and tariffs are just taxes one country puts on imports from another country, if tariffs are present, you could argue that that is not free trade. I would say it isn't. Another issue is general government regulations. Some government regulations, such as those that pertain to human health hazards, may be necessary, or at the very least they may be beneficial. So there is a line we have to draw when it comes to defining a free market. I have more to say about that, but it'll make more sense later, so I'll get back to it. The second thing I mentioned is the marketplace of ideas. So the marketplace of ideas is very similar to a free market, except instead of being about money passing through hands, it's about ideas passing through minds. So it's not just a marketplace of ideas, but it's a free marketplace of ideas is what we want. So what a free marketplace of ideas is that people are able to discuss different thoughts with one another, different proposals for how to run aspects of society especially. And that conversation is not censored. It's not artificially blocked or overinflated in any way. So that means moneyed interests stay out of it. And again, just like the free market, it really is very simple in theory, but then in practice there are a lot of minor potential issues to address, and those things build up. But what the marketplace of ideas is what it's supposed to do is just serve as a platform for different ideas to be discussed, and the premise is that if there is free discussion of ideas available to the people, then the people will have those discussions, and they will do so thoroughly, and at the end of those discussions, they will be able to come up with the best course of action. And likewise, for authors, for example, whichever author has the most functional and appealing ideas in their work is the one who will sell the most books, and those are the ideas that more members of society will adopt. And again, the basic premise is that as long as we have the ability to have these discussions freely, as time goes on, our relationship to ideas will evolve, and the weak ideas will fall away, and then the ideas that really work will shine, and it will be clear to more and more people about which ideas work and which ones don't. and we can use those ideas to run our society, which includes running our government and our businesses and even conducting our personal relationships. So that's the marketplace of ideas. And the final thing I mentioned is human intelligence. And human intelligence, I just like to say that it's consciousness. In essence, it is your power to choose. Or another way of stating that is it is your power to create, to take action, to think, to reflect on yourself, to interact with the world around you. It's just all the basics of being a human. It's your ability to interface with reality. That's what intelligence is. It is the means by which humans interface with reality. It's the bridge between the human individual and the reality around them. And of course, in the end, all those three things become one: the self, the intelligence, and the reality. But yes, let's just say that human intelligence is our ability to function as sovereign and conscious individuals. How about that? That's human intelligence. Now, what is important to know about these three freedoms, free market, marketplace of ideas, and human intelligence, is that they are all interdependent on one another. Because you cannot have a functional marketplace of ideas without intelligent humans running it. Likewise, if the marketplace of ideas is censored or co-opted in any way, that reduces people's ability to be intelligent, because instead of being able to discuss things freely and take action based on a rational and caring discourse, instead people are being lied to and they're being forced to do things and convinced to do things that they might not otherwise do. So that's how the marketplace of ideas and human intelligence go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. Likewise, you cannot have a free market without intelligent humans, because you need intelligent people to keep that market free. If people are dumbed down, then evil people will get into power and they will use their power to manipulate the free market, and then it won't be free anymore. And when that free market gets manipulated, and it most likely will be used by those evil rulers to push products on the populace that further dumbs them down. And then the dumber the populace is, the more the rulers take control of the free market and the less free it becomes. And at the same time, of course, the less intelligent the populace becomes. So that is how you cannot have a free market without intelligent humans, and vice versa. So the final connection is between the free market and the marketplace of ideas. You cannot have a free market without a free marketplace of ideas, because the two are very strongly connected. You know, the free market is about selling and buying. It's about trading ideas, but in a physical form. Because every time you make a purchase, you are also making an ideological statement. Every purchase you make is an expression of the ideas that you hold in your mind. So, for example, if when I'm done making this video, I'm gonna go to the store and I will probably buy some mangoes and some dates and some spinach. So that is a statement that is a representation of an idea I have, which is that those things are worth buying. And then I have my own ideas further back about why those things are worth buying, which is basically that I believe those are healthy choices. And I also think they are tasty. And likewise, at the same time, I have ideas about other products at the store that keep me from buying those things, such as Cheetos and meat and cheese and bottled water. So this is what I mean when I say that trading financially is really just a physical representation of ideas, because every purchase you make is an expression of ideas that you have in mind. So if the free market gets co-opted somehow, like if the government subsidizes meat and not fruit, I can't imagine they'd ever do that, then that influences my ability to express the ideas I have in mind via the free market. Likewise, if the marketplace of ideas gets co-opted somehow, that influences the buying choices I'm going to make. Because if pro-meat studies get funded by certain industries, and those studies are then shared with the public, I can't imagine they'd ever do that. Those studies may influence the ideas I have in my head, and then those ideas will influence the purchasing choices I make. So that is how the free marketplace, or the free market and the marketplace of ideas, go hand in hand with one another. So overall, all three of these things cannot exist without each other. You need to have intelligent humans, a free market, and a marketplace of ideas all working harmoniously together. One thing I want to say is, in my writing and in these videos, I've often made reference to a book called Personal Development for Smart People by Steve Pavlina. And in those books, he talks about 3 principles which govern all human efforts at conscious growth. And those 3 principles are truth, love, and power. So, those principles are represented in this particular situation I'm talking about. These 3 collective freedoms that we must defend in order to also have personal freedom. So, in this model, truth is represented by the marketplace of ideas. Love is represented by intelligent humans, because love is all about the people. And then power is represented by the free market, because the free market is where all the action happens, which is trading between people. And that's what power is all about. It's about action. So truth, love, and power all have to work together, just like those 3 basic freedoms do. And if you degrade any one of them, all the others go down as well. So, defending our freedoms, it's not just about our freedoms per se on the surface, it's also about adhering to these principles that are essential to us having prosperous lives, truth, love, and power. Because the goal of free marketplace, or the marketplace of ideas rather, is to come to the truth. The goal of intelligent humans is to build a prosperous world together, where ideally people are interdependent on one another and they care about each other, because the opposite of that is basically a chaotic society where people are worried about getting killed by each other all the time, which is definitely not what we want. And then the free market the free market is about each of us expressing what we want through our purchasing choices, and also being able to develop an independent livelihood by selling things to each other that we actually value. So that's power. And the next thing I wanted to say, it was really good, man. So these 3 freedoms, they can all be degraded and infringed on in different ways. The ways which human intelligence gets violated is something I have discussed quite a lot on my website and on these videos. And the main ways that happens are, well, as I said, it's through the free market, it's through co-opting both the free market and the marketplace of ideas. I'll just take a step back here for a minute and say that the way that each one of these gets co-opted is generally by also co-opting the other 2. So it's like I said before, when you take down one, you take down the others as well. Vice versa of that is, if you want to take down one, the best way to do that is to take down the other 2. So it's a triangle, which is impossible to escape. Like the Illuminati pyramid. Ooh. Anyway, so the ways that human intelligence gets infringed on is basically by damaging our bodies and brainwashing us. So, of course, our bodies get damaged by filling the free market with things that hurt us. And then we get brainwashed by the marketplace of ideas being co-opted through the media, the mainstream media, through public schooling, propaganda, lobbyists, paid studies, things like that. So if they can destroy our bodies and at the same time tell lies to us and make us obedient, well, those things go hand in hand. Because a sick person who is in bad health and a sick person has a hard time taking action and thinking clearly. And if someone can degrade your ability to take action and think clearly, then they can lie to you, and they can exercise control over you, and they can degrade your health enough and to the point where they can keep conditioning you steadily over time until they get to the point where they convince you that you need them and you have to be dependent on them. And you being dependent on them requires that you let them control you, and you have to let them become your manager. And that is basically how the modern world gets created. It's everyone needing a manager and a government to give them handouts and someone to hold their hand everywhere they go. So that's why health is so important. Health isn't just this hippie thing where, everyone's got their celery sticks and they put them in the juicer, and I don't even do that shit. Health is about freedom of your mind. It's about actually being able to live independently and create a life that you want. Because if you're not healthy, It's that much easier to control you. So I don't encourage people to be healthy just for its own sake. Although I feel that is very important too. I want you to be healthy because if you're sick, people can take advantage of you. And it's much easier for them to lie to you and to exploit you. If you want to be awake and you want to really live at the highest level you can, then you have to improve your health. And you have to keep going through that journey, steadily improving your health for the rest of your life. Because, they've messed with us really bad in that area of things. By putting heavy metals in vaccines and fluoride in the water and pesticides on food and creating fake food and all these things. You don't realize how bad it is until you start getting away from it all. And it's bad. It is horrible. So that's why I talk about health so much. It is crucial to creating an intelligent and free populace. So I'm never going to stop talking about that. So the point is that degrading our health is one of the biggest ways in which human intelligence gets infringed upon. And it also, the other way that it happens is by us being lied to, like I said. So the ways that the free market gets infringed on, of course, it's by dumbing down the populace and co-opting the marketplace of ideas by putting all the lies in and all the special interests in the public schools and all that crap. And of course, with the marketplace of ideas, when people are unhealthy and they're socially conditioned, they are more likely to buy into certain ideas. And those ideas include the premise of basically needing the government and needing these big corporations to take care of you for the rest of your life. Likewise, the marketplace of ideas also gets co-opted by the free market. The free market being twisted to cater to people who have the most money to spread propaganda to the populace. So, the people who have the most money often have the biggest influence on the free market, or on the marketplace of ideas rather. So basically the people who have the most control over the free market also have the most control over the marketplace of ideas. But that's not always the case, as we learned in the 2016 presidential election in the United States, because all the lobbyists and special interest groups and probably whoever the hell was funding Hillary, they have a lot of influence over the market, over the free market. But they still did not win. Yeah, they had all their paid advertisements, and they got CNN right on their belt, and they got the public schools, especially the colleges, telling kids that Trump is a Nazi or a frog or I don't even know, some stupid stuff. And that didn't work. They had all the money in the world and they still lost. They lost in the marketplace of ideas. And how did they lose in the marketplace of ideas? If they had if they had so much potential to influence it. How was it that the people who have the most control over the free market lost control over the marketplace of ideas? Well, for one thing, I'll say that they didn't totally lose control, because the mainstream story is still that of the political left. But at the same time, on the other hand of that, I should say, the way they lost was through some shining of that third piece of the triangle, which is human intelligence. You see, you can co-opt the free market and the marketplace of ideas all you want, and you will probably have some success at controlling the populace as a result of that. However, even though you can dumb people down by taking away their health and by brainwashing them, there always remains a spark right up here. And I would say under certain circumstances, when people can somehow get a hold of that spark, when there's enough intelligent people left to light that spark in others, and then they all keep spreading it around to one another, human intelligence rises, and it doesn't preside over those two marketplaces, but it rises strong again. And even though the odds are against it, because it has both the free market and the marketplace of ideas pitted against it, human intelligence is still and always will be the most powerful part of that triangle, because it is human intelligence that creates those two marketplaces in the first place. So even if all that's in the grocery store is Cheetos, and all they're telling us on CNN is that white people are Nazis, we still got this. Even if we're dumbed down severely, it just takes a few of us with enough foresight to awaken others, and then we spread that truth to everyone else. And that's how the populace gets control of the free market and the marketplace of ideas again. And from there, we continually uplift human intelligence. And that is how you create a free and prosperous world. Now, that would have been a great way to end this, but there's one more thing I want to say, which is that I just had it. The last thing I wanted to say is that all the rights in the Bill of Rights, all the amendments are connected to this three-part model here, these three freedoms. So the First Amendment, which is basically free speech, that is inextricably connected to the free market, or the marketplace of ideas. Free speech and the marketplace of ideas depend on one another to exist, just like the rest of the triangle. So the marketplace of ideas is where we get the First Amendment from. Human intelligence is where we get the Second Amendment from, which is the right to bear arms. Because human intelligence depends to a large degree on our physical health and well-being, you could argue that the right to properly defend ourselves is necessary to us preserving our intelligence. Now, of course, I've managed to have a fine life without ever owning a gun, but here's the simple, straightforward way of explaining it. Is if someone threatens you and they kill you and they killed you because you didn't have a good way of defending yourself, you're not going to have very much intelligence anymore once you're dead, now will you? So, that is why I say that human intelligence and the right to bear arms go hand in hand. Because in order to have intelligence in the first place, we have to be alive. So, and to be alive, it helps if we can defend ourselves to keep our lives going. So, that's where the Second Amendment comes in. And then the other amendment would come in via a truly free marketplace of ideas. Because if the marketplace of ideas is not corrupted at all, then I think that we would naturally and rationally come to those other 7 amendments. So the overall point I'm making here is that all of the amendments in the Bill of Rights, our basic freedoms, our basic individual freedoms, all arise from these 3 collective freedoms that we have to preserve. So our freedoms as a society and our freedoms as individuals go hand in hand. I know the term collective freedoms can sound like an oxymoron, but the truth is that we're all interdependent on one another to survive and thrive and to enjoy life. Because if you were the only person on Earth, things like that closet and this house and the roads beyond yonder, that all wouldn't exist. So there are freedoms we have to respect, not only as individuals, but also for all of us as a populace. And I think that's a good thing, because that's one way that we can care about one another, is by making sure that, it's like, by making sure that we have our own individual freedoms, we also have to make sure that everybody else has their freedoms too. Because if you aren't free to discuss ideas without censorship, that potentially infringes on my freedom too. Because if you're over there getting lied to, someone might, and you don't have the foresight enough to see through those lies because you've been lied to for so long and you've been dumbed down through diet, injection, and injunction. Those lies might tell you to come over here and kill Kim Raitt, and I would not like that very much. So your freedoms and my freedoms go hand in hand, and that's why I call them these particular 3 collective freedoms. Because if you're not truly free to participate in the marketplace of ideas, then I'm not either. Because I'm going to have to argue with someone who, for one reason or another, can't see all of reality, and they can't think clearly. And, how am I, even if my idea is actually a great idea and it's very useful and constructive, if the people I'm sharing that idea with are dumbed down, that idea is not going to get through to people. So that's why, again, these freedoms go hand in hand with each other, is because, an idea can be the cream of the crop, but if the people are too low way down here to grasp the genius of that idea, then it doesn't matter. Then it doesn't matter. Then we're not really free. Likewise, I could come up with some kind of product that would really enhance the quality of your life in some way, but if that guy over there, he wants to keep you in his back pocket, and he tells you that my product is fake and full of shit, and you believe him, then it doesn't matter that my product is great. And in that case, I say we don't have a free market. If we don't have a free marketplace of ideas, we don't have a free market either. Because, well, if people don't know what's really good for them, all they're doing is filling someone's wallet. You see, what you don't know, someone else can profit off of. And they probably will. So that's why human intelligence, marketplace of ideas, and free market all go hand in hand. And we have to preserve those things if we want to have a free and prosperous society. So, I have one final message with you to share before ending this transmission. You see these curtains? I don't have these curtains at my house. I'm not at my house. You see the color scheme on these curtains? This is a message to tell you that if you are in France, please vote for Marine Le Pen in the next week and a half or whatever it is. I'm sorry I'm not French. I probably said her name wrong. And if you are in America, make America great again. Protect our freedoms and protect each other. And that's it. That's all I got to say for now.